them all.
Favorite moment of your world tour so far?
Favorite moment? Oof. And Paris is just amazing. I'd say I got to hang out at a private party with a bunch of Axie crew, which was like early Axie players, and that was really cool insight into like an area that I'm really passionate about. So that was cool. And then Paris is just beautiful. I really enjoyed staying there. And eating croissants for breakfast. Espresso and croissants every morning for breakfast. Oof.
That sounds great.
Yeah, very nice.
Did you go to NFT Expoverse, Kyle? Were you there?
I did. Yeah, we had a booth there.
How was that?
It was super fun. I was told after traveled from Istanbul that morning, flew over from Europe to the US, arrived at like midday in LA on the first day of the expo, and then went straight to the expo from the airport. And someone that I met there told me that I was the most enthusiastic person that they met at the whole expo. And I was like, I am just running on pure hype and no sleep.
Hey, it's the zest about you, Kyle.
That's it. I loved it. It was a really good expo, the NFT one in LA there.
Nice. I saw a pic of your booth. It looked really nice.
Yeah, we took over 2 booths. The second day, someone across from us didn't show up to their booth, so we may have strolled over and rigged up our computer to their TV, and Mitch and I were running 2 booths that day. It was a good time.
The grind.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so are we waiting on anybody else to join us? All right, let's get started then, hey?
Woo!
Hey, so everyone, welcome to another AMA as we are all eagerly anticipating the return of the Battle Arena. So from what to expect with the relaunch as well as an update on Nexus, we will try to get all of your questions answered. Don't forget that we've also got our huge Titan giveaway winner being announced. And on top of that, we'll also be giving away a cool Syndicate t-shirt and a hard copy of the Supremacy graphic novel to one lucky listener. So let's get started with some updates on the latest and greatest. What has the team been up to and what can we expect on the relaunch, Alex and Morgan?
All right, so this is a huge relaunch, and a huge amount of work has been done in the last 2 weeks, and it's crazy to think that the Battle Arena has not actually been down that long. The team have been like moving at an insane pace, and there was quite a lot of activity last night in the office, as pretty much everyone who was not working on something critical was deep in it testing. So we've got the repair system for mechs, which is going to be huge. So no longer do your mechs just get out of the battle unscathed. They will now need to be repaired. And there's the repair market, which is a fairly lucrative way for some players to earn subs. Big news for the kind of onboarding story for the game is that we will no longer require a wallet. So people will be able to sign up with their email and password or Google account or Facebook account and earn subs in the game, and they have the ability to play without requiring that Web3 barrier, which is going to be massive. There's a ton of other abilities related stuff that's probably better if Morgan talks to, and just quite a lot of quality of life improvements. So we've got likes and dislikes on the chat. If a chat message gets below a certain ratio of downvotes, it'll disappear. So we've got kind of you can call that kind of community moderation, more akin to Reddit. We've got tags in chat, a whole bunch of stuff. And but I'll pass to Morgan now, so that they can talk about the actual player abilities, which are getting a huge overhaul. Morgan.
All right. Well, yeah, as Alex said, a lot of the player abilities system have gotten quite a bit of an overhaul. And I think I'm going to have to like first sort of clarify a little bit of terminology just to be upfront so that people understand sort of what I mean when I'm talking about things. So for everyone who's like played Battle Arena before, you'll be familiar with the idea of there being the Gabs abilities, which were things like airstrikes, the faction abilities, which were the like faction specific ones that functioned roughly in the same way as the Gabs ones did, just without the sort of competing nature against the other factions. And then there were the mech level abilities, which were mostly fireworks and technically overcharge functioned like one as well. We're also going to be introducing a new layer of abilities with the reopening today that we refer to as player abilities, specifically as player abilities. And these are a bunch of, I think it's like 6 or 7 brand new abilities that haven't been in the Battle Arena at all. And the way that these ones work is periodically, I think it's like every half an hour. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to check my patch notes. You'll get an option between 3 different player abilities pulled from the whole pool of them. And you get to just select one for free, and it gets added to your inventory. So you have a new little inventory for these little player abilities. And you can, whenever you like, during a match, you can just deploy it. You just use it. We can probably talk a little bit later about what some of these new abilities are, but I don't want to go over all of them because I think it'll be fun for players to just sort of discover and find out for themselves what some of them are. Yeah, so you'll be able to get one of them for free, and then we do have a system set up for you to buy additional ones from the offering of 3 that you get with subs if you really want to. There is a sort of, yes, these are the consumable ones that are in the announcement one. Yeah, these player abilities are consumable, so you buy it and then you use it once, and then you'll have to get another one to do again. Or sorry, you get one free and then you can buy additional ones if you like. They also have a inventory limit as to how many of each one you can have at a time. So you can stockpile, but only to a certain extent. So if you want to keep getting the free one every half hour or so, you'll want to make sure you're actually using them as well. So that's, just sort of to encourage people to keep actively participating in the battle arena with these sorts of new abilities. So in addition to this new layer of player abilities, we've also overhauled how Gab's abilities work. So now, as I believe Alex had mentioned in like previous announcements, we've been intending to decouple SUPs from the Gab's abilities, and the way that we've done that is that every time a new Gabs ability comes up, it'll actually be accessible to all 3 factions at the same time. And there's a new little button up the top where the sort of existing Gabs interface was, where you can opt in for an upcoming Gabs ability. And then a player from the sort of pool of players who have opted in will get selected to get to deploy the ability for each faction. And some abilities, say like landmines, will actually have more than one person per faction will get selected to use them. And we have a sort of weighting system so that people who, use the most recent few abilities will get, weighted lower than others who haven't, so that it kind of, gets shared around a little bit. And we're also planning to have some other ways to preference like friends or people in your syndicate, so that you effectively sort of give them like a use of Gab's ability in your stead, so that you don't have to opt in for it, that sort of stuff. But the idea is that this means that there's no cost to using the Gab's abilities, and that it doesn't, like, it's not reliant on somebody having enough subs to contribute enough to get to do it, and it's sort of shared around enough that everyone who's playing should be able to get to use these quite regularly, especially for the ones where we have multiple people getting selected for each time they come around. So we'll have landmines. We've brought back the repair crate drops, airstrike, and of course nuke. Those are our Gabs abilities for the relaunch today. And we're hoping quite soon we'll have some brand new, two brand new faction abilities and one revamped faction ability that will also get added to this system as well.
Yeah, so the faction abilities won't actually be in today, will they? I think that they're coming in probably next week.
Yeah, the brand new ones, yeah. Well, technically one of them will be today. I guess this is another little bombshell drop. Everybody gets overcharged now. We decided that in conjunction with Mech Commander, overcharge is a really interesting plan mechanic that we thought was just really good for everyone to get to have fun with. And this way we're able to design an all-new faction ability for Zaibatsu that is sort of going to be more akin to what Boston's doggos are like as well. So everyone gets overcharge, which is exciting, and sure, Zaibatsu players will be like, oh, but we've already got it, we've already been playing with it. Don't worry, you're getting something new and exciting too as well. So quite soon. So that'll be fun. Overcharge does have a fairly sizable cooldown on it, so you won't be spamming it. You'll just be sort of having to use it very tactically. I guess I shouldn't go into too many details on what the optimal uses of it are, because I think players will enjoy figuring that out themselves. But yeah, it'll
I agree.
definitely be exciting. It'll definitely be exciting to see how the new overcharge for everybody's system ends up playing out in live battle arena.
The other exciting thing, especially for me, is there's a lot of quite a few visual improvements and sound effects improvements coming in with this relaunch. So there's some good sound effects that have been worked on, including even just the sound of the actual mechs themselves, and missiles have gotten a bit of a visual overhaul, if you will. So they're looking a lot nicer. Just overall, the visuals are looking just a little bit smicker, and there's a whole range of new maps coming in, which I'm super excited about, and a couple that people haven't really seen much of as well. So that's definitely something to get excited about.
Yeah, we have 5 or 6 new maps coming in, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely. Forget the number. Just focus on the Hive. I think people are going to be excited about the Hive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Hive is quite something.
And the Hive, I'm not sure if this is coming in relaunch, so don't hold me to this. But the Hive actually comes with a map level ability. Now, like I said, this may not make it into the relaunch, but it will be in soon after. So that's another whole new level of strategy that I think will excite people. Cool. All right. I think we'll probably drop just some videos from our testing environment as we go through the AMA, just randomly, so people can see these things for themselves. I think it's always better to show rather than tell anyway. But let's get to the questions. How are we doing, Raj?
Yeah, so there have been a heap of questions overnight as well. So we can start getting onto some of those.
Before we start, just quickly, we will actually cut to Spence, or as we're calling him, Mr. Supsman, who will be streaming live from the Supremacy YouTube channel, and Spence will actually draw the winner for the Titan giveaway. So that's another thing to look forward to. That will happen in exactly 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Wow. Okay, I'm definitely keen for that. Okay, let's get on to these questions then. So can you tell us something about the new story mode? And are we still earning subs in the modes, or are we earning another resource?
Okay, so story mode is not in on the battle relaunch, so I don't want to talk too much about that yet. That's coming in Nexus, so let's store that question for pre-Nexus launch AMA.
Okay.
So we'll just hold off on Nexus questions in this AMA, and we'll save them, for a Nexus themed AMA, which won't be too much longer. And obviously, after this relaunch is successful, we will be back to focusing on the Nexus launch, and it won't be too much longer. But it's premature to talk about that stuff now. Let's just focus on Battle Arena. All right, sorry, Raj.
That's all right. Sorry, Morgan.
I was just going to say, just to be clear for everyone listening in. So to be clear, this relaunch doesn't include the new Nexus mechs and weapons. They'll be coming in the actual Nexus update, as Alex was mentioning, just to sort of head off any questions about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. Okay, so Bullraid asked the question here. Are you guys considering the Binance incubation for exposure and networking benefits?
I am unable to talk about our specific conversations with Binance. So I can neither confirm nor deny, and that is contractual, so I won't breach that. So next question.
I need something to do on my breaks and downtime at work. Will mobile play still be supported?
So we've had 2 weeks to pump this update out, and it should still be fairly mobile responsive, but I can't guarantee that all the new features have been perfectly tested in mobile. So any bugs you find, you report them straight away in either the feedback channel or, even better, a ticket on help desk, and it'll get patched and improved quickly. Mobile is really important to us, so even if people don't report all the bugs that are potentially there, it'll be worked through anyway. So tentatively say yes, but I anticipate there to be maybe some teething issues just for a week or so.
Okay. Also, welcome to the chat, John.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, John.
Hey, John.
How's it going? Okay, so Rackham with another question here. With the new Syndicate feature, what access will Syndicate members have? Will they have access to deploy their mechs when owner is not active, or is that more for the rental system? Is there a limit on how many members could be in your Syndicate?
So just to be clear, Syndicate System is not coming in this update, but I will answer this question very quickly because the Syndicate System will likely come before Nexus. So you'll still be able to deploy your mechs if you're not online, but you will probably lose. Your competitors will actually be controlling their mechs, and that functionality around controlling your mechs is just going to get better and better. We're doing quality of life improvements on that just as a function of the development of the battle arena. So if you're not online, you are definitely at a disadvantage. Now, the Syndicate System is it's a fix to that. So you'll essentially pledge your mechs to your syndicate, and your syndicate members will be able to run your mechs, and you'll share in the spoils of that.
And if you can buy abilities slash consumables, will you be also? Can you also sell them?
They are not sellable yet, but they will be. Yes.
And will there be a limit on how many personal abilities a syndicate can launch at the same time? If 10 people deployed at the same time, for example.
I believe there are some cooldowns in there. I will defer to Morgan.
So we don't have any limits on like how many player abilities can be deployed at once by different players currently. Partly because our internal testing hasn't had sufficient player numbers to really get a feel for how chaotic that can be. Unfortunately, like it's very difficult to simulate 100 people online when we don't have 100 people in the studio entirely at all to begin with, essentially. So we'll be keeping a really good close eye on what like oversaturation of abilities can be like, but we are hoping that by having the inventory caps on abilities, we'll be encouraging players to sort of, I guess, like sort of stretch them out a bit in how they get used, but using them still like fairly frequently. So it won't be like how do I put this? So I wouldn't expect players to be like dropping them in lumps constantly, because you'll end up like overriding each other or just not being very coordinated about it. The best use of player abilities is going to have some measure of coordination. So I expect the first week, maybe even 2 weeks of BA are going to be fairly chaotic as people get used to that. But that is sort of how any game on live works, because players have less knowledge and experience of these systems than we, the developers, do, just because they're totally new to you. So that's to be expected, and that's fine.
And
So
really,
you know,
nothing
know that.
ever survives contact with the enemy. Not the players are the enemy, but that's the quote. Nothing survives contact with the enemy. And
Yeah.
devs and testers can try their best to guess how players are going to use something, but you never know until they actually use it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's just as common as sand in the game dev business to begin with. So
I think
it's
with the current relaunch, the player abilities are very defensive. So
yeah.
I think if you combined all of them once and saturated the battle, you may not actually benefit from it because they're strategic. They need to be used at the right time.
Yeah, like if you had 6 different people using certain abilities all at once, it's mostly just going to kind of pause some of the state of the battlefield for 5 seconds or so. It won't necessarily actually like give any one team of an advantage because of overuse. So I think players will pick up pretty quick on the idea of like staggering things out more and being a lot more sort of precise and careful and teamwork oriented about ability usage. So I think yeah, we'll have some chaos to begin with, but that can often be really fun and just a really silly, enjoyable way to start out a new update anyway.
Looking forward to the YouTube bait. All right, Raj, next question.
Yeah, just to follow on that, will all 3 factions get the same ability at the same time?
For Gab's ability, yes, yeah. So, like when landmines come up, it'll be for all 3 factions. For the player abilities, I believe it's actually I'm not quite sure how this works. I'd have to ask someone from Dev, but I believe it may well be random for each person.
Yeah,
As to which 3 abilities you get offered.
I'm 75% sure that it's completely random per individual.
Yeah, that's how I was like. That was what was discussed, so I'm fairly certain that is how it works.
Awesome. And will we see mini games such as the mech repair in other areas of Supremacy in the future? If so, can you describe where you think you would implement them?
I'll hand this one to you, Morgan.
Okay, sure. Okay, so mini games in the same style as the repair one. Possibly. It sort of depends what you mean by mini games to some degree. I personally am of the general opinion that when it comes to like little side games or like side mechanics in games, the sort of scale and complexity of them should be roughly comparable to the scale and significance of what they're supporting. So for something like the repair mechanic, which is fairly self-contained, the mini game that we've got is pretty sleek and straightforward and not too complicated. And I think that's like really appropriate. If we were to add, other systems like maybe you need to like recharge your power cores or you know do something to like outfit your mech or whatever, just throwing out example ideas here, then yeah, they'd also be similarly simple and straightforward. I think like when we start getting to more sophisticated systems where we'd have these kind of sort of little side games, we'd want them to be a lot more engaging and complex, relative to like the complexity of the system that they're interacting with. Because the thing about these mini games is we want them to be like fun for an extended period of time based on how often players are going to be interacting with them. Like we never really want anything to feel like a chore that you have to do. And sort of some of the net goal of a lot of systems that are about supporting your mech usage or repairing things or crafting things or things like that. We'd want to have like a kind of end goal of being able to either automate them or pass on some of the downstream work to other players, either by just like buying stuff that people have already made that you need for something, or directly putting out the actual process work, like what we've got with the new repair system. So to sort of get back to the question directly, yes, I think we'll definitely see some more side games and mini games and things like that. As to how many they'll be, again, will depend on what they're interacting with. As to where we'd put them, I
The enrichment
don't
center.
think I can. The enrichment center, as Kyle says. I can't say for certain where we would put them yet, as a lot of them would involve systems that we haven't announced yet or haven't talked about yet. So I can't really get into those details. But suffice to say, yeah, you'll see more of this stuff in the future, and it'll definitely be thoughtfully implemented and added to the game.
The later stage implementation of the further games, as Morgan mentioned, as we bring them into as a part of a value exchange between players, that'll become a part of the enrichment center that's later down the roadmap. So there's a good aspect of that in the white paper as well. So those are about value exchanges, and as Morgan mentions, it's about transferring value and ensuring that players can have a meaningful way to implement these games that provides and helps other players progress.
Just as there are more features and functionality added to the game, and as more components of Supremacy come out, first-person shooter, grand strategy, anything else alongside those games, there will likely be a need for more mini games. The ultimate answer to this question is as we see fit, and there's definitely going to be a lot of room for that, and there will be a lot of kind of what you could call mini games in the hangar. So right now we have a very abstract mini game to represent repairing a mech, but in the not so distant future, you may actually be working directly on mech parts and reassembling mechs in 3D. That's something that's something I've heard conversations about in the office that I wasn't even part of. So, these are the the level of mini games we'll be exploring, if not implementing anytime soon.
Okay. And right, so for this Battle Arena relaunch, are we looking at the queue sizes staying the same as they were before?
So queue sizes should obviously increase, especially as more players come in, especially as the change in the gameplay should mean that players aren't kind of excluded or pushed out of gameplay. Queue sizes is actually something we're a little bit concerned about, but with the Nexus launch comes the battle lobby. So working on the queue system right now is was not a priority for the battle lobby relaunch, purely because there's already a system coming to fix that. We'll just kind of suck it and see.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
ultimately, oh, sorry, Raj.
Oh no, Morgan, you carry on.
Also, ultimately, it's sort of difficult to just fix queue sizes per se, because ultimately they're going to be based on how many people are playing and like how many streams we have going at once. So the real fix to queue lengths is just to have more streams, and that's like an entirely different kind of ball game to designing through it. And as Alex said, that's the sort of thing the battle lobby is hopefully going to help mitigate. So with any luck, we'll get Nexus out in time for that.
Not even hopefully, it absolutely will. Battle lobby is going to be awesome. The ability to actually plan matches, pre-fill the actual mech owners and mechs, and not only that, multiple battle streams. It's definitely going to change the way people play. But like I said, that's Nexus, and I can't wait for it. If I'm being perfectly frank, I cannot wait for the battle lobby. It's going to be a game changer. All right, Raj, next question.
So have you done enough tests to provide good balance and fair gameplay for all factions?
As much as we possibly can. Obviously, this is we've pushed out the relaunch for the Battle Arena very quickly, but we've done a lot of testing internally, and our testers have been working testing it constantly every day as soon as updates start coming out. Does that mean that it's going to be perfectly balanced and there won't be balance issues? Definitely not. We can't guarantee that. Like I said in an answer to a previous question, nothing survives contact with the enemy. So we fully anticipate potentially needing to buff or nerf abilities or change cooldown timings or a number of things that Morgan has in their insane sprawling spreadsheets. So if we have to put out a Tuesday update to bring a little bit of balance to the arena, then people should just expect that and kind of look forward to small changes. Morgan.
Yeah, what I would absolutely say though is that you shouldn't be expecting any like major overhauls like we had to do towards the end of the previous Battle Arena life cycle. Like the sort of things we'd be doing are small value tweaks, like lengthening, shortening cooldowns, changing damage values, things like that. That's that's the only sort of thing we're likely to be doing between now and when we add new features entirely. We're very confident in the like fundamental mechanical systems of the Battle Arena relaunch. So yeah, you won't be having like major overhauls of anything that just like change up the meta entirely. It'll just be a little bit of tuning basically, which is how it goes sometimes. And I mean, it might not happen on Tuesday. It might not happen for a month. It'll really depend on how severe things happen to be.
And I mean, our testing kind of proved that it was really fun. So what I anticipate seeing is players jump into the battle arena and it'll be hectic because there'll be a ton of people who show up just to try it out, and they'll hit it hard, and then that'll taper off a little bit, and then they'll be replaced by new players and the frequent players, and we'll see an equilibrium form, and then we can really take stock and probably make notes for Nexus rather than actually pushing out live changes. But as Morgan said, there is a good chance there'll be ongoing tweaks, but nothing major, and definitely, unless just something completely unforeseen, a real black swan event happens, the battle arena will not be going down for any considerable time. All right, Raj, next question.
Okay, so Foxsaber's asking here, will there be any future special mech variants like the Genesis Titan? For example, humanoid or platform Titan mechs?
Can neither confirm nor deny, but knowing the creativity of our concept team and artists, probably.
Okay. And Kilroy's asking here, what is behind the keep outdoors in the hangar?
that you know what? I will answer that question towards the end of the AMA, just before the winner of the Titan is announced.
I can answer one of them because it's sort of a bit of a gimme, but we are hoping for at some point, but it's related to Nexus. I can't say for certain if it'll be there for Nexus or not, but there's going to be an armory, which is basically the weapons equivalent of the existing mech hangar.
And the designs for the armory are beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. But the other doors, though, I wonder what they could be.
Yeah. All right, Raj, next question.
Okay. Are we going to be able to actually use the mech ourselves, like Titanfall, with the mechs and pilots?
Yes, in the future. Yeah, not for this thing, but we're working ever so steadily towards having an actual game client, and therefore also the first-person mech control mode. And like the kind of ultimate goal for the battle arena and any kind of gameplay like the battle arena is to be able to have players who are piloting their mechs from within the cockpit in first-person mode, and players who are controlling their mechs from above, like in a MOBA or a real-time strategy game or something like that, and people who are supporting, spectating, whatever you want to call it, the matches, and assisting with other abilities. So yeah, that's all in the sort of mapped out plan for the game.
Just in case that user who asked that wasn't aware, there's a sneak peek in the announcements channel. It was posted a few weeks ago. Scroll up a bit and have a look at the YouTube link for a internal trailer of that functionality.
Definitely worth checking out. It's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. So, are there any special rules regarding the Titan mech? For example, it's possible the Titan gets off-worlded and never sees the battle arena again. Will there be anything in place to prevent this, or would that be the end of the Titan mech and only lives as a memory in our minds?
The owner of the Titan mech is free to do with it what they want. And if that means never enlisting it to battle, then that means never enlisting it to battle. And that would be sad, because it would be, I think it'll be a really fun experience. And we may or may not actually build in some functionality that highlights when the Titan actually joins the battle. So yeah, if we never see it in, then that would be really sad. But this is, the whole point of sovereign ownership and NFTs is it's yours and you get to do with it what you want.
Yeah, we won't prevent on-worlding and off-worlding of a specific asset, as I think that question was asking. The Titan is technically one of the Genesis mechs. It's just the one of one, and it will be treated like a Genesis mech.
Right. Okay. So, talking about the hangar, May is saying his laptop, a 7-year-old GTX 980, overheated on crate day when you tried to walk around in the hangar and it shut down. Will you release options to lower the settings to accommodate older and lower end specs?
So we are pretty limited in WebGL, and moving to a desktop client for the hangar is it's incoming, and we'll be able to do a lot more in a desktop client, and that also means having something, well, having it function better on lower end hardware. Now, will it actually play very well on the hardware in question? I can't guarantee that, but it probably will run better. So yeah, it's incoming. But we can never make guarantees about how well something will run on lower end hardware. The only thing we can do is, which we will do soon, run a hardware survey on players and just kind of see where we're at. And we will try and target as low as we can go within our development. Just at least run testing on it to make sure that we can try to make the game and the hangar run as well as we can. But there's obviously a limit. Unreal Engine and Unity themselves have limits that is essentially impossible for us to go below.
Right. Okay. And after relaunch, is there a chance for matches with greater than 3 mechs per side?
There is a so not for relaunch, yes, for Nexus with a star on that, as it hasn't been heavily tested yet. But for instance, the Hive actually supports 9 versus 9 versus 9. Now, no guarantees that'll be turned on in Nexus with the battle lobby, but it's something we're working on. We just got to make sure it's a fun experience. It's all well and good 9 versus 9 versus 9, but then it's actually not fun. That would, there's no point doing it then. So technically, absolutely possible. When we turn it on and how we turn it on, I will broach that in the pre-Nexus AMA.
Okay, right. And will the battle arena balancing tweaks be announced in writing, like a changelog?
Yeah. We'd never do it secretly. That doesn't exactly inspire trust. I'll let Morgan expand on that.
So even whether something is a hot fix or we actually have to reset the servers to do it, we'll always release some kind of announcement as to what the changes are. Yeah, we don't do hidden announcements and like hidden changes. Sorry, like hotfixes will usually be really small and like, oh no, this thing is actually broken. We have to fix it, and this is what we fixed. And then like otherwise, balance tweaks will be done in batches rather than like one at a time. So yeah, they'll be in listed and actually announced.
Okay. And since the battle arena has somewhat been decoupled from subs, can you elaborate a bit on the new reward system mentioned in the announcement?
I guess that's another me question. Yeah, okay. So the way that subs directly interacts with the battle arena as of this relaunch is, as I mentioned before, the ability to buy additional player abilities. But the other way is when you put your mech in to the queue, you'll pay a flat fee that never changes. And then based on the result of the match that your mech goes into, the fees will the pot, I guess, generated from the fees paid by each mech owner will be totaled, and then it'll be spread over the three teams based on where they place, with the first team getting the majority of the pot compared to the other two, and then the share for each team will then be split amongst evenly amongst the three mechs on that team. Now, in the event that like one team only has two owned mechs put in, then obviously the entire pot will be, one mech's worth smaller. So the share out will be smaller, but obviously then the people in that faction will get, half rather than a third of their faction's share of the pot, basically. So yeah, that's how it's going to happen with the like in terms of like subs spending fee to put mech in and then get reward out. You'll always get some of your fee back, but obviously the better your team does, the more you get, and if you win, you'll get more back than you put in.
And obviously, if you win, you have less repairs to do.
Yeah, that too.
Just to make sure everyone noticed, that means that rewards are now shared amongst your faction. So even if your mechs died, but your faction won, this is now considered a win. Obviously, it will still +1 on your mech's death stats, but your mech's win stats go up.
Okay. Let's get to some more questions here. Aries is asking, I need updates on Brave functionality.
So I think that's people reporting that there's issues with Brave. I know most of the devs use Brave, so I anticipate that the issues with Brave will be resolved in the relaunch. But I will obviously talk to the team and just make sure as well. But I know that even dev leadership uses Brave, so I don't see that being a problem.
Okay. And can we expect human avatars and areas for avatar interaction?
One day.
Yeah, fairly soon.
Right. So, what are the subs being used for that Ninja makes with the listing fees and percentage on marketplace sales? Does part of it go back to syndicate banks? Also, can you elaborate a bit more on how the syndicate banks work and are funded? Will player syndicates have a similar system, or will you change the existing system?
So syndicates will definitely have their own bank accounts, and they'll be managed by the governing body of the syndicate, of which there's not just one governing type. They still kind of function like a player account. Obviously, it's much akin to bank accounts in the real world, where a company's bank account is functionally not different to a player account. The faction accounts, so Zaibatsu, Red Mountain, Boston, they function in a similar way, but are automated, and they do have syncs that go into them, and those syncs will increase over time, and the kind of player interaction with those accounts, and governing bodies within the factions will definitely be part of updates in the mid to long term.
Right, okay. And do we have any updates on Delta Force when Battle Arena is relaunched?
Not yet. I think we'll do a Delta Force specific either town hall or AMA when John and I return from Korea.
To sort of answer the question a little bit, I personally do definitely want to get Delta Force up and running again, as like an actual sort of beta test group, so to speak. I think that'll be really good. It's just a matter of being able to get it all organized again, and as much as I would have loved to have been able to get Delta Force, to test all of the updates and stuff for this relaunch, like trying to get Delta Force like up and running and sorted and everyone onto the test server and all this stuff in 2 weeks. It was not viable, unfortunately. But I definitely actually like really want to do it as soon as we're able to do that, and when Alex and John are back from Korea, we'll do some sort of chat with people in Delta Force and figure out the best way to go about doing it then. And so expect to hear more about that soon. But it's 100% on my radar. So people who are interested in helping out doing some beta testing, that'll definitely be something to keep an ear out for.
Yeah, with Morgan coming on board, so not all listeners might realize that Morgan hasn't actually been with us that long, even though I know it feels like Morgan's just been part of the team since game launch. Morgan will obviously be much more involved with Delta Force, and that will really change how we approach Delta Force, because part of the problem internally is that team members that I tasked with being responsible for Delta Force have been responsible for a lot of other stuff, and were not directly benefited by Delta Force, which means it's a chore. Now, not that interacting with the people in Delta Force was a chore, because they're awesome, but just adding it onto the list of responsibilities someone has, it's just more work for them, and so it never got the love that it needed, and that's something we completely admit. But now Morgan does actually benefit from the Delta Force people properly testing and trying balances and things before they hit production. So there will be definitely a renewed push and love for Delta Force. That I have no doubt.
I've also got quite a bit of experience running playtest and QA teams as well, so I have a pretty vested interest in making sure that Delta Force is organized and given targets and goals and things to try out and that sort of stuff as well.
And one thing I would like to add is that I don't know if people actually have seen photos, but there is the Dark Army, and the Dark Army has always just essentially been our people who are heavy on social media, and you know, it was just a cool little internal name, and it was kind of how Delta Force was come up with. Now, the Dark Army have a T-shirt that says Dark Army on the back, and it's a really cool T-shirt, and we may just create a Delta Force T-shirt for Delta Force members who achieve a certain KPI, and you know, they can actually feel like they're part of the Supremacy Delta Force with their very cool Delta Force T-shirt. So now you won't just get that for joining Delta Force; you'll have to earn it, and that'll be part of us relaunching Delta Force and putting proper incentivizations in place. Anyway, Raj, next question.
Yeah, just on the t-shirts as well. We are also doing a faction t-shirt and a comic book giveaway as well to a listener. So yeah, that's something to be excited about too. Now, are the repairs always going to be the same amount of work, or can you be less damaged? For example, a mech that gets his legs, arms, and cockpit destroyed versus a mech that just gets his leg destroyed. Both mechs are dead, but one is more dead.
So right now we don't have that kind of in-game damage system. You know, the way damage and health functions is relatively simple, where, you know, taking hits reduces health. Now there's, you know, different different health impacts based on where it hits, but we don't kind of mark the leg as destroyed or you know, mark the weapon as shot off. Now, I would love it if we did do it that way, but it's definitely not going to be something that we bring in pre-first person shooter, and, you know, bring it in on the first person shooter as well is, you know, not something I'm committing to either. So I can answer that question right away with no, that's not how it will work. The mechs have their you know, like, if you're destroyed, you need to repair all the health blocks, you know, all the damage blocks, and, you know, it's relatively simple in that manner. But if you survive, you know, if your mech doesn't die, then you'll have fewer repair blocks needing to be worked on.
So if my mech wins and I've got fully healed, do I have to repair my mech?
No, you do not.
Whoa!
Hey, that's exciting. And are we going to have some kind of insurance system now? So, like, the damage and repair is soon a thing.
Not for relaunch, but it will come in either with Nexus, potentially pre-Nexus. Yeah, there will be an insurance mechanism added. It needs a little bit of thought, and we really want to see how the repair contracts and repair system works in the wild before we bring out insurance. So it definitely will be something that comes. I can't exactly say how it'll work, and I'm sure Morgan has some really deep thoughts on it that I don't think we should share just yet. So, next question.
Okay, so we've actually got Obi-Wan who wants to come up and speak. Probably ask a question. So yeah, I'm going to bring him up.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
Hey, Obi.
it's been quite a while since I've spoken at an AMA, but always keeping an eye on what's happening, and really excited to welcome Morgan onto the team. And that's exactly where my sort of question today comes from. Knowing that Morgan is a fan of the BattleTech series, and perhaps he's played Mech Warrior online, and whether he has or not.
Just to jump in quickly, for everyone listening at Obi, Morgan goes by they them. It takes little time to stick, but you get used to it. Sorry,
Yeah,
Obi,
all good.
keep going.
All good. All good. So, yeah, just whether Morgan has enjoyed Mech Warrior Online, and then or played it, and then whether or how much of that they would like to incorporate into the Nexus or the future or even the final release of the first person part of the game, the first person shooter element.
Mech Warrior Run Online. What a topic. I could talk about that for a while, but I won't. But what I will say though is, yeah, Mech Warrior Online is pretty cool. There are things about it I really like. There are definitely some things about it that I am not as fond of. I haven't played heaps of it, and I haven't played it for a while. I played a bunch at launch, and I played a bunch maybe like a year and a half after launch. But that's the last time I played any of it. And I don't remember heaps of specifics, and it's probably changed a good bit since then. But I did play, I think I played like maybe all but one or two of the older Mech Warrior games. So I'm, pretty familiar with how like a lot, the Mech Warrior stuff works to begin with. And yeah, I love them. Like the first person thing is it's really hard to make a first person mech game and not draw inspiration from Mech Warrior in some way. It's just like that seminal of a title. So yeah, I'll definitely be pulling a lot of stuff from there. I'm really looking forward to the concept of mech composability that's coming with Nexus is a really big deal. Like in Mech Warrior, like what mech model you were using, how you outfitted it, what sort of stuff you put on it, how you armored it, or just all of the different sort of granular ways that you could make what you were piloting yours and fit your play style. Yeah, absolutely. Like that sort of stuff is so very much the goal of what we're after. And we're trying to sort of introduce that incrementally. We really want that to be a big part of the Nexus update, especially even without FPS mode. We want you to like deploy your mech and be like, yes, this war machine is, designed for this kind of purpose. And then when you see it there in the battle arena, you're going to give it mech commands that work well with what it does. You're going to try and get it to move and engage in ways that are supportive of its particular loadout. And if you queue three mechs up together, you might have three different war machines that are outfitted in ways that make them work together as a team. Or you might do that with two other friends who are queuing at the same time, and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, that's so very much something that we really want to do. I've also been replaying a bunch of BattleTech 2018. I want to say it's 2018, which is the turn-based BattleTech game, which I adore. It might be my favorite BattleTech game. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. I've been
Big
playing a
claim.
bunch of
Oof.
that again. I've been playing a bunch of that again. There are a bunch of just like systems and like ways that stuff functions in there that I've been drawing a lot of inspiration from, or at least have just been a really good source of things to think about. I guess like an example I could give off the top of my head is if you were to go look at your weapons or mechs for Nexus stuff in the game at the moment, you're going to see some stats that probably don't make sense to a player. Like stuff like damage fall off or damage fall off rate or whatever. You might sort of be able to kind of guess what they mean, but how they all interact and what they actually ultimately mean at the end of the day aren't that helpful. I am going to be having that stuff changed so that the stats that you're going to see for weapons and mechs are much more specific to player needs and context and understanding. And a lot of that is drawn from what you see when you play BattleTech or Mech Warrior or other stuff like that. So, yeah.
And that's quite brilliant. I'm really, really happy to hear that because the weapon drop off, the damage drop off based on range, I love the BattleTech games. I play Rogue Tech and the other mod for it as well, as well as Mech Warrior Online. And I was, I think the most important thing, because I saw a discussion yesterday or the day before or a few days ago on Discord about mechs jumping and the ability to jump. Well, there should be a trade-off. If I want to add jump jets to my assault heavy or my assault mech, that means I can only put fewer or less weapons on it based on tonnage or based on weight. And that opens up another level of strategy, which I think would be great if it could be incorporated into Supremacy.
Yeah, I love jump jets. You're never going to see mechs like jumping of their own accord because it's a little bit gravity defying and also kind of goofy. But jump jets are, yeah, I'd definitely love to get jump jets in the game at some point. That's on the wish list, not the promise list.
Okay, well, that's really it. Great to see you guys making changes that are necessary. And, like myself, a lot of the OGs are sticking around and looking and waiting and hoping. And I think you guys are slowly but surely delivering. So well done.
I'd love to talk about Mech Warrior Online. I've always seen it as a failed opportunity and probably an example of a dev base who are functionally very good, but lack the love of the source material. It really felt like a kind of, they BattleTech licensed it out and someone built it who just were kind of focused on making a bit of money from it rather than on the actual love of mechs. And so I really definitely felt like it could have been amazing. And it's definitely, I guess, that missed opportunity of Mech Warrior Online is inspiration for Supremacy.
Yeah, look, it's I think there's plenty of burnt, well, not burnt, but there was Mech Warrior Online should have been the modern version of what we loved as a tabletop game back in the day. And
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, inject a little bit of harmony, issues into that. And things and PGI themselves, and then whoever else it was that started looking at it. But when it started, it was amazing. Just taking you into a cockpit and listening to that mech stomping around, kitting out your mech to deal with certain situations, certain maps, was incredible. And that's the immersion that I guess we wanted to have from the tabletop to the first person shooter element.
It's really interesting you say, you mentioned the mech stomping around and the sounds of that, because I totally agree. And that sound was just, it's like the first thing you notice, the first Mech Warrior game you play, you're like, whoa, like I am in a heavy piece of machinery. And one thing I'm definitely excited about with the Battle Arena relaunch today is that Josh, our very talented sound designer and engineer, has been working on getting some much improved stomping sounds for our mechs. And actually the inspiration I gave him, the cue was think tiny little earthquakes. This is a 6 to 9 story tall mech walking around a city. Like that's not a quiet event.
Yeah, exactly. And then I accidentally brushed against the building and I, took out half of it.
Yeah, well, that kind of, in Unreal Engine 5, they call it chaos. It's like dynamic destruction. And it'll be unlikely that we bring it in for Battle Arena, but it is definitely the kind of immersion you will very likely bring in for the first person shooter, Human Resistance. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. And I know a couple of our Unreal devs are very, very bullish and in love with the chaos destruction system. If you want to see some cool examples of that, just YouTube Unreal Chaos, and you'll see where we're headed.
We've also got some of our own examples of chaos at play with our stuff. If you watch like any of the weapon trailers that our like cinematics folks have done, whenever they are shooting and blowing up stuff, that's using chaos most of the time as well. Like I think the BFG one, like the way that like what happens to the targets and the war machine that are hit by the BFG is like partly done by chaos as well as some other effects. So yeah, it's pretty cool and very fun.
Yeah, so
Just
from a media
just-
perspective, chaos makes it a lot easier because unlike a lot of game trailers where everything's kind of scripted, the destruction from chaos actually comes from the damage variables of the weapons themselves. So the person kind of creating the in-game engine cinematic doesn't have to actually stage the destruction. It happens naturally. Anyway, sorry, Obi, I'll let you ask your next question.
Yeah, sorry, just just very quickly, in terms of we just mentioned BFG, and it always, maybe it was asked somewhere already, but just licensing. I'm sure you guys have crossed your T's and dotted your I's in terms of naming guns BFG, because we
yeah,
go back
so
to you can.
sorry, Obi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, just my question was licensing. In terms of using a name like BFG, and whether the Duke Nukem creators would have an issue with that.
They probably have to ask the guy who wrote the Big Friendly Giant too.
BFG comes from Doom. I believe Doom 2 was the first weapon with the BFG. Yeah, I think they intended for it to be in the first Doom, and it didn't make it, and then it was in Doom 2. That's a really, really vague memory. There's a lot of games that have referenced the BFG that are not like affiliated with id, the creators of Doom, and it's kind of a especially first person shooter, but a video game trope now, and it is definitely us kind of tipping our hat towards what is a massive inspiration, especially for me. I'm a huge id fanboy, a huge Doom fanboy, a huge Quake fanboy, and in all seriousness, it's Doom and Quake that got me not only into video games but into technology, into programming, into everything. Like if these games hadn't come out and I hadn't played them as a young child, I would probably be something far more boring, like a lawyer or in prison. Who knows? So we having the BFG in game is is showing kind of how much we respect and love our roots and video game roots.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. And if you remember paying $100 Australian for 1 meg of RAM, yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember getting 64 megabytes, and I had the most RAM out of all my friends, and I was king. That was a long time ago.
All right, but thanks for your time, guys. That's all of my questions, and really looking forward to what's coming up next and the future.
Thanks, Obi.
Thanks, Obi.
And it's great to hear your voice again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm always lurking. Always lurking, just waiting.
All right, thanks, Obi. I'm sure we'll speak to you again.
Absolutely.
All right, Rush. What question is next, or is there anyone else who wants to come up?
So we do have some questions, and we'll go with a few of them. Will there be any rewards or incentives for matches survived, mech kills, and abilities triggered as a way to reward early and loyal supporters of the game?
I don't. Before I answer this question, I don't really understand it. Can Can you just repeat it again? Maybe I missed something.
Okay. Will there be any rewards or incentives for matches survived, mech kills, abilities triggered as a way to reward early and loyal supporters of the game?
So there will be, like, in future, there will definitely be things like quests and rewards for certain in-game actions that we decide to either incentivize or incentivize against. That's coming soonish. As for it rewarding early games and supporters, I think that's more likely to be done through the NFTs and just our actual like player data. We know who's been playing for a long time, and we'll obviously always make sure that we keep them happy. That's important to us. As for it being linked to survives or ability kills, probably not. Not in a way that might benefit people just for playing early. It's far more likely we build systems that focus on now rather than the past.
Okay. So we've got a few questions here in regards to Delta Force. Do we want to save those for the Delta Force AMA that we may do in the future?
That we will do. Let's save all Delta Force questions, purely because without actually looking at these questions myself, I reckon we probably can't give straight answers just yet. We've been focused on the Battle Arena relaunch, so actually drawing up a proper plan and strategy for Delta Force is not something we've done, and it's purely living in a few of our heads. So let's save them, and we'll come back to them in the Delta Force AMA.
Okay, cool. So we've got a few more questions here. Any changes to the Spoils of War distribution? Will it still rather not? Will it? Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So any changes to the Spoil of War distribution?
Yeah, I can just jump straight in. So, Spoils of War are gone. That's probably something I should have mentioned right at the start, so I apologize. Spoils of War have gone. There's other ways to earn from the battlefield. There are bounty systems incoming, not in Battle Arena relaunch, but spoils are for now gone. So the people watching the stream, they will earn subs in different ways now, and as we bring out more features, there'll be more ways for them to interact. As we've said, Gab's abilities, all the abilities are still there. They just don't cost subs, and we don't have the first past the post Gab system anymore. So there is no spoils pot to distribute. There will be rewards and incentives coming for streamers, just not in the relaunch.
Right. And will repair always have to be done through the mini game or payment, or is there a slow auto repair if you idle mech for a certain amount of time?
There is no auto repair. The kind of concept of auto repair and what that means will be provided by the insurance systems that will come either before or on Nexus. But right now, the only way to repair a mech is with the minigame.
And will you be able to re-queue damaged mechs without fully repairing?
I think you should. I actually need to confirm this. I will. So I can't actually say yes or no. I think you should be able to. I will check with the dev team. If not, then we'll turn it on. But like, you probably wouldn't want to do that because your mech will be damaged. Well, let's I guess just wait and see. You should be able to. I will talk to the dev team and confirm. If it's not in by battle relaunch, it will be next week. So the mechanism is definitely that you cannot requeue a mech who is completely damaged. As for queuing, half damaged mechs, you should be able to. I can't confirm whether that is the case though. So leave it at that and move on, Raj.
I'll jump in there for 1 second. Would it be fair for a player to be able to queue a mech that's at 25% health? So only 25% health left. Would it be fair to the other two players because that mech would go down very quickly? Would it be fair
that's
to
a good point.
the other two players that have 100% health that have actually repaired their mechs? To obviously possibly lose the match because the unrepaired mech went down very quickly. Sorry to jump in.
No, that's a really good point, and you've exposed the fact that I've actually not thought about this at all, but I bet Morgan has.
About like less damaged mechs being quicker to repair. Sorry, can you?
No. So will players be able to requeue your enlist damaged mechs? Like partially damaged.
With the current system, I am not sure, but I don't think so. I can double check with the devs real quick though, and be absolutely certain.
I think we're now having more of a game design question where Obi points out, is it fair to the other mech owners in your team that you've queued a 25% health mech, and that's a really good point. And I hadn't actually thought about it. So from a functionality perspective, you would think yes, you can requeue a damaged mech, but is it something we want to allow because of the the impact it has in your team members? And that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think ideally no, unless you are like deploying a team of your own mechs together. So I think like if we're able to have that kind of thing, like where it's going to be all your mechs. So yeah, if you want to deploy a half health mech in your own like deployment group, sure, fine. But yeah, I think if you are deploying it like just one on its own and it's going to be with other players' mechs, I think that is probably not something that's desirable.
Yeah, I think there's a deeper question here, and I guess there's a law question as well. So we'd have to defer to Matt. Does the overseer allow damaged mechs to enter its battle arena? There's a few questions here. In all honesty, I don't have a straight answer. But I'm leaning towards not letting damaged mechs in. But I also I do like the concept of a mech owner going, no, I don't want to play the mini game, and I don't want to contract it out. And what I'm going to try and do is hit my mech with a repair before someone destroys it, knowing that they only get one repair in a battle. That could lead to some interesting strategy. So I think rather than giving a straight answer on this one, I'll say let us marinate on it, and we'll see where we end up with it.
Okay. We will go through some more questions now. Right. Inspired by the flying mechs talk in Alpha, what does the team's design philosophy gravitate towards more? Fast and arcadey like Gundams or lumbering like Battletech?
I like both. One of my so obviously MechWarrior, massive inspiration for me. I love MechWarrior 2, one of my favorite games of all time. But actually, one of the games that I really loved as a young teenager was Shogun. Shogo, which was very much like, first person shooter. You're in a mech, but it's a fast moving mech, and it's kind of more like you're a giant human rather than a lumbering heavy machine. But it was a hell of a lot of fun, and it had I think it was one of the first games to have that combined first person mechanic where you can be a human or in the mech, and it had a really fun, just a really fun feel about it, because you can do things as a robot that you can't do as a human, and if they're fast, you can do crazy things. So you could probably expect to see a combination of this in our mechanics, and obviously, Morgan and the law writers and a lot of other people have a lot of input on this. So don't take anything I answer for this question as gospel, because there'll be a lot of playing and adjusting before we actually release the first person shooter, and how it feels and how it plays is obviously going to be impacted a lot by playtesting and focus groups. So, it could end up one way or the other. I like the lumbering mech warrior feel because it does change it from just being a normal first person shooter into something that's more akin to first person shooter meets flight simulator. But you can go too far, and it ends up alienating a lot of the player base. So there's a careful balancing required to create something both fun and loyal to the idea of mechs. And now I will cross to Morgan, who I'm sure has been itching to add something to this question.
I don't know about itching, but yeah, no, I have thought about this, and probably the best way to explain my thoughts on the idea of flying mechs or different levels of like war machine maneuverability, etc., is by talking about like the sort of class setup that I'm intending for like us to be going with in the future for new war machines and such. So effectively we're going to have like sort of 4 different sort of like classes or archetypes, I guess, of like mech chassis, with the Genesis ones being mediums, the new Nexus humanoid ones being what I refer to as scouts, and then of course the platform ones. And then there's going to be a 4th one which is bigger than Genesis and also humanoid. And the idea is that you're sort of exchanging like size and firepower and health, armor, utility hard points, all that kind of stuff, in exchange for like being faster and more nimble and potentially having the capacity for other things that make you way more maneuverable. And so sort of the way I see it is that the smaller the mech chassis, the more you're going to be looking at like the Gundam style. We are flying in space quite fast and doing really hard turn maneuvers and things like that, and I'm mostly staying alive by being nimble and avoiding stuff. And then your platforms and your like the 4th class of mech will be all about being big and slow and lumbering and intimidating and have lots of firepower and take lots of punishment, but they are terrible at avoiding it or moving around. And that way we're able to effectively cover all of those kinds of desired types of mechs and therefore play styles, while fitting like filling every different criteria we would have for all of that. So it works in universe, it works in balancing, it works in like, you know, expectation and aesthetic look and design. Like we're also thinking that, say, like the new manufacturers that have made all of these Nexus stuff in setting in the universe, they all have a particular focus on like what a sort of stuff they make, and that's kind of based a little bit on like what their engineers are interested in doing, what the company worked on prior to starting work on war machines in the first place, and that sort of thing. And so different manufacturers are going to make weapons or, you know, mechs or other pieces of hardware that you can use that will have different strengths and weaknesses and different focuses and things that they, you know, aren't as interested in. So there's like a whole heap of ways that we can expand out on that kind of stuff and sort of make sure that we're giving every type of player the kind of experience that they're hoping for within a mech type game while still making it all cohesive.
Yeah, it's a big question because you know, not only does it impact like how fun it is, but it impacts balance. It impacts animations. Like it's and I think it's something that as you know, as we're developing the first person shooter, like it just keeps getting tweaked and getting changed, and you know, designs change to kind of match the actual real impact of the gameplay. So it's not an easy question to answer, and I guess the best way to answer it is we are not going to put out just a standard first person shooter where you're a giant robot. You know, the fact that you are piloting a giant robot will absolutely impact controls and you know, how the mech moves and responds to your commands. So we obviously don't have something definitive to show, but be confident that we know this is important to people who love mechs, because it's important to us because we love mechs. One thing I'd also like to add, Morgan got me, obviously reminded me of, is, you know, mechs will handle differently based on the environment. You know, mechs in space, mechs on Mars, mechs on Earth. You know, the different gravity and you know, the different gravity changes the way they control, and we can do some really interesting things with that. So I'll leave it at that, and we'll move on.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, guys, that in less than half an hour, Supman will be drawing out the winner of the Titan giveaway. So we'll post the link into the AMA chat at the end, and head on over there. Ice Pickle's asking
we will stay on Discord and discuss the discuss Spence picking the winner. So you don't have to leave the AMA. We'll still be here, and it'll be kind of like a watch party.
Great. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about Demolition City or Quantum Lands?
Yes. So Quantum Lands technically existed before Supremacy, and is the brainchild of our lore writer, Matt McGuinness. And it's very in-depth and has a really, really rich lore. And some of it we borrowed heavily from, obviously not just with Matt's permission, but with by Matt actually doing it. And Quantum Lands is like a really exciting bit of IP, and is something that we will expand on over 2023, and it's obviously dependent on us getting it funded. these new projects, we do a lot of the base work. We do concept and a bit of design and a prototype, and then we try to get them funded. So Quantum Lands and Demolition City are both on that list. Demolition City is the brainchild of our technical director, and is kind of I forget the game. Is it Redline, Morgan?
It's an anime film, but yeah, Redline.
Redline. So the film. So it's kind of like Redline meets Mad Max meets Carmageddon meets Demolition Derby meets Burnout. All these kind of games. It's a race that has no rules, and has weapons and destruction, and the vision for that is really cool. Like the concept behind it, and how the cars will kind of actually function and handle, and the world that they inhabit is really rich. Again, this is another game kind of on the medium to long-term horizon for us, and will be something we focus on kind of post Supremacy grand strategy and Supremacy first-person shooter.
They're kind of like cross out.
Yeah. It's really cool, and we'll probably share like now that people have actually noticed it. These projects have kind of just been in stealth mode. So now that people have noticed it, we might share a little bit of concept just to get people thinking and talking about it. With keeping in mind that these are absolutely behind Supremacy as a priority for our studio, where there's no devs on them at this point in time. They're in design and in concept, but it's still some kind of long-term projects that we're excited about, and I guess prove that we never stop thinking and creating and making sure we've got plans for the future.
Sorry, Alex. Would these be sharing the subs token?
It's more likely that they either launch with their own token, or they don't have a token, or they use a shared token between our metaverse games, which is to say, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yep. So similar to what Gala Games, Gala Games or Gala Coin or Gala Token, and there's been plenty of developers on the chain in various back tokens, or Gala itself, where you've got at the moment, I think there's Town Star that's released. There's a couple that are in beta, and there's 5 or 6 other games that are sort of coming out, but all using the same token. So you're not relying on one game to support the token. There's multiple games to attract multiple users.
Yeah, there's a few different models, and each game having its own token, but a underlying layer that translates between these tokens, so you can move between metaverse properties seamlessly, is part of our vision. Has always been part of our vision, and but we do kind of see the game tokens as not just having a kind of direct one-to-one relationship with the success of the project itself. It also has to tie into the lore and the and the purpose of the game. So Supremacy was always designed as a economic simulator and a rich economic world, and therefore creating a token for it just made sense. It fits, and the kind of design challenge of having a single token, a single currency in a game, is one that we've relished. It's not been easy. We would have definitely found it a lot easier if we'd had a dual currency system, but we really do see the single currency as providing a more realistic economic simulator.
So should I go out and copyright Ninja Token?
If Ninja Token isn't already taken, then I'd be shocked. Yeah.
But look, single token economies, and I do this as a hobby, but also as a business. But you can go into multi-token economies. You can have a look, colonize Mars, where there's 16 tokens within the game itself, all of them tradable within the wax environment. And all of them, are needed to at this stage not play the game, but you can accumulate them at the moment. And there are things like labor, like data, storage, fuel, water. So it does you can make it as complex or as simple as you want.
Well, that's a very good point when you talk about data storage, water, these kind of things, energy. You can absolutely consider them as a currency. There's a kind of fine distinction in games between resource and currency, and obviously Supremacy will be bringing in things like metal, and in the Nexus launch, we actually, like, energy becomes a thing. Mechs have power cores, and they spend it on their movements and weapons and etc. So you can't really escape derivatives, and you can't have a system without resources. The difference
Absolutely.
is whether you tokenize them or not, and that's something
Absolutely.
something we got some designs and plans around.
Yeah.
But I really don't see us having 16 actual blockchain tokens for the one game. That would just be
Exactly. It's very, very confusing. Very look, it takes a lot of work to put in. But something like going back to the questions that we had earlier, and it seems to be quite valid questions. The repair. If we look into the white paper, where you've got parcels of land, you've got buildings in the Syndicate HQ, production factories, storage units, refineries, intelligence centers. What about repair centers, where you could repair your mech straight away for, I'm going to use an example, 1,000 subs, but you could actually send them to someone's owned repair facility and you pay 20 subs, but it takes 24 hours.
Yeah, well, the repair system we're bringing in with the relaunch is, it borrows from that concept. It's obviously a bit simpler, but that's the destination, is where I lean away from instant repair for currency, because I feel that's very microtransaction model, and it's not necessarily bad, but it doesn't so much fit the law. But systems in place, like commerce, like insurance and repair brokers, our vision for Supremacy and the world of Supremacy is one where these services are player offered, and they work to progress their kind of internal, like their player stats and abilities, to be able to provide repair services and insurance services, because they have advantages. So, for example, a player could create a syndicate, a company whose entire purpose is providing repair services, and use their in-game kind of knowledge and like things they've earned in the game to train all of their essentially employees in the repair system to be able to repair a mech, let's say 10 times faster than the average kind of untrained player. And therefore they could provide a repair services to other players for much cheaper and function much faster. These are these are the kinds of mechanisms and systems that we're designing.
Yeah, I love that, and you could build onto that, and the sky's the limit as far as value adding and of course driving up the value of these. When the time comes and you release portions of these buildings or repair centers, they're just like loot crates, and you can get a common or you can get a mythic repair center. Now, that mythic repair center, you could still set the price, but of course, the time to repair is a lot lower than a common. So again, why would you want people? How do you want people to want to buy these things? That's another option.
Yeah, well, there's always scarcity, and then there is destruction. So, buildings will not be safe from raiding mechs, and that's like that's going to be interesting to see how like that kind of scarcity and player targeting will be exploited by the players. I totally foresee while the faction wars are going on, there'll be kind of internal wars where let's say repair service syndicates actively target other repair service syndicates to ruin the competition. Maybe they even practice in a little treachery and bribe someone in an opposing faction to raid and destroy their facilities. These are the kind of like skullduggery that could happen. It's very, very EVE Online.
That kind of brings me back to one of the issues that we had with multi faction problems. How are you going to stop that happening in what we just discussed now?
So we have already in place systems to actively track and match accounts and figure out like where people are playing and linking these multi-faction accounts together. Now we don't do anything with that at the moment. We're not banning people for it, and I think a lot of people actually are genuine in that they actually enjoy playing for each faction, and I've never been against that. I think as long as when you start playing for the other faction, you're genuinely playing for that faction. Like when you play yourself at chess, you don't favor one side. When it's your turn on that side, that's who you are. And I would never ban people just for playing on multiple factions. But if they use that to ruin other people's gameplay and kind of work against the systems we've created rather than work with them, then we have to take that into account. So it's not a simple question. I don't just want to ban people for being multi-faction. The goal for us, and especially the goal for Morgan, is to design a progression system and play a world where like breaking your efforts up into three like that will not get you very far. So the incentives are just not there. That's the goal for us design wise. And if you have to spend like decent amount of time building up your reputation within your faction to even get close to doing like committing sabotage, then only the most malignant players will go down that path.
Yeah, certainly. As long as it can be controlled and just doesn't have that overlying negative impact on the rest of the crowd.
I mean, troll's going to troll, griefer's going to grief. So as as long as there's active moderation and a dev team focused on thwarting them and potentially using the way they play to actually improve the experience, then we'll be fine. But it's not a war that's ever won. It's just like, as soon as you have a big open world and a deep, rich economic simulation, there'll always be people taking advantage of mechanisms no one thought of, and sometimes that'll improve gameplay and experiences, and sometimes it won't. And our job is to identify and deal with it when it doesn't improve it, and our other job is to identify when it does improve it and build systems around it. And we look to EVE Online for inspiration around that. The players did it themselves, and then the devs kind of went, oh yeah, well let's provide them in-game functionality to actually enhance this experience.
No, certainly, and I
Raj.
think you're touching a great thing. Just listening to the community and being active with them. But I'll shut up now.
I was going to say, Raj, do you want to rapid fire a few questions at us just before we have the Titan drawing?
Yeah, 7 minutes. Let's go. Quick.
Okay, so question on Titan. You said that the top grinders of Titan codes would get some sort of reward. Any more information on that?
Yeah, so we're gonna the top 10 entries, like the people who put in the top 10 entries, top 10 number of entries, will receive some merch, and that's likely to be a faction branded hoodie of their choice and size. We'll the team will reach out to them like over the next week or two. We'll also publish that list, and if your full name is in it, we will like censor it, so it'll be like first name, last name, initial, and then we'll reach out to everyone individually.
Yeah, okay. And in regards to the mech repairs, are you able to repair any mechs from any faction?
Currently, yes. Whether that changes in the future to faction only, I'm unsure. We'll see how things go. Right now we don't know what the volume of repairers versus mechs needing repaired will be. So it's much better to err on the side of caution and create the biggest marketplace for repairs that we can.
Great. Okay. I think that's all of the questions that we've got in regards to the Battle Arena. So we've got 5 minutes left. Okay.
So we don't have a quick question that we can jump into.
So okay, yep, here we go. So what should people be most excited for with this relaunch?
Just new gameplay. It's different. It functions different. It's a bit more full on. The repairs and stuff are very cool, especially as they provide a way for Web 2 players to on ramp into the world. But I'm more excited just to see people play it.
Okay. One part of the reward after a battle will still come from syndicate banks like before relaunch, or will it all come from deployment fees? Like if a deploy fee is 200, then the pot would be 200 times 9.
It all comes from deployment fees.
Okay.
Morgan, I saw your screen go green. Do you have anything to add on to that?
I think I may have just tipped my hotkey by accident, but yeah, it all comes from the deployment fees, at least like for the time being. We're planning on adding other subs, sinks, and earns and things like that in the future over time as well. But like to begin with this relaunch, we just want to make sure that the like subs spend and reward are a sort of closed loop, so to speak, to begin with, just to keep things fairly stable and just make sure that the main focus is having fun and exploring the new battle arena and everyone getting used to it, and then we'll start introducing other systems that utilize SUPs and other stuff like that over time.
And there is in Nexus with the battle lobby, there'll be tournaments and exhibitions, and so we didn't want to put a lot of design work into battle rewards because it's all changing very soon anyway. 2.5 minutes, everyone. Ooh.
Obi-Wan's got a quick question. Yep. Yeah, fire away, mate.
Very quick one. I love the fact that you the onboarding. You can log in with your Google, Facebook. Will 2FA be a requirement to do this? Because I think it should be.
2FA is actually not enabled today, but it is coming in early next week. So just with all the hacks that have happened like in the last few days, it's
Solana was an absolute cracker. And just to make sure, because if we are going to, or if you are going to onboard a lot of these people that are new to the zone, there's so many things to look out for, and perhaps even put something in the guidelines just for this, if there is an influx of people new to the space, just to what to look out for. Even something as simple as a Discord, a DM that says you've won something, just what to look out for and protect them.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting players' safety and confidence and all that kind of jazz first is like a really big thing. So we'll definitely have stuff in place to try and inform people of that sort of thing as much as possible and protect them innately with systems and things like that. So yeah, like 2FA and email validation and just all that kind of stuff is the sort of thing we want to make pretty mandatory once all that gets added in. Not just because it's a good way to manage like fake accounts or bot accounts or whatever, but also because that's just the sort of thing that helps protect users as well. So yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. 45 seconds to go.
Morgan, what was your favorite mech in the BattleTech series?
Oh, I don't know if I can answer that in 45 seconds.
Just pick one word.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the dragon.
Ooh, I would have said Panther, I think, just off the top of my head. Or maybe Centurion.
No one's saying Atlas. And these are all. No one said Mad Cat.
All right, 3 seconds. Here we go.
All right, let's go, guys. Good luck.
Coco's going to make an awesome mech design. So keen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And so for anyone listening, Coco will actually get to talk directly to our art team and make their Genesis mech look however they want. It's gonna be pretty amazing. I'm really looking forward to it.
I want one with a dozen legs. A spider who climbs up buildings. Yo, flights? Come hang out. Token 2049?
Yes. Yeah, so...
Yo, dinner with the team?
Dinner with the team? Yep. So I think what Spencer hasn't mentioned is that these are two different competitions. The fully custom model mech will be a very long run competition. We'll probably run that into 2023, and will be, there'll be like entries given away from that within gameplay and things like that. That's going to be a really long and really interesting competition. Obviously the tickets for the flights and VIP tickets for Token 2049. That'll be a really quick competition because that's in September, and that's going to be going pretty full on.
Yo, AMA. Like we left the AMA. Could do both. Zaibatsu Titan. This Titan's going to be epic. So keen. Oko is going to make such a dope design. I'm really glad Oko won. That's awesome. That's pumped. Hell yeah.
Congrats, Oko.
I want to get Oko on stage. He's not online at the moment. Shall I call him?
Yeah.
I beat Spencer in the battle arena. Come at me, mate.
Just a quick question.
1v1s.
All right. We are back to the AMA. Yeah, sure, Obi.
Just in regards
Go,
to
Obi.
the next, obviously the competition. Will Zaibatsu now be ruled out of that comp?
No.
Hell no.
Because it is an entirely.
We could possibly have 3 Zaibatsu Titans on the field.
Well, we may actually. So I am considering. So we haven't actually launched this giveaway yet. It will be launched next week, and so we may actually do one for each faction, so one person from each faction gets to design their own mech model, or we may just make it so that basically the giveaway for that is that you'll be able to not just speak with a texture designer. You'll be able to design a whole mech, or at least be the inspiration for a design for a mech. So it'll tie in with the next drop. So we've just done Nexus. The next drop, we obviously we're not going to announce any details on that because that's quite a way away, and hence why I said this will be a really long running competition. But the players will be involved with the design of the next generation of mechs, and that'll be really cool. But the big news really is the Singapore Token 2049 competition. So again, we'll be launching that first thing next week, and or actually before the weekend. Now that I look at the time, that is a flight to Singapore from wherever you are, and VIP tickets to Token 2049. And a dinner with the Supremacy Token 2049 team, which there'll be quite a few of us there. And you'll get to meet the team, hang out with us, and obviously there'll be some merch and stuff. It'll be a
care package.
Yeah, it's going to be a really cool giveaway. There'll also be accommodation thrown in there. I want to say Marina Sands Bay. But we'll confirm details.
I'll be in the pool.
I snuck into that pool once. Good time.
It's nice.
That's the Eternity pool is Infinity pool is amazing. Yeah. So this is it's going to be a really cool competition because it's going to bring people outside the Supremacy world, into our sphere, and that's going to make it that's going to really increase the number of players. And doing this giveaway at the same time we open up sign-up methods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna have a massive impact on player counts. Is there any questions about these giveaways? Because we can just jump right in, and seeing as we technically haven't officially launched them yet, if you've got some good ideas, maybe we'll incorporate them.
Well,
when does Coco get to start designing his mech?
Yeah, so now that Mitch
When he
is
wakes
back,
up.
now that Mitch is back from LA, from NFT Expoverse, where he was hanging out with Kyle,
Yeah.
Mitch will be reaching out to Oko, and they'll get started.
Oko will be reaching out to us first. The team will never DM you first, and then we'll get started from there.
Yeah. I think we'll probably send Oko a in-game message with the details on how they can book a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it's probably early morning for him still. So yeah, it'll be a great surprise for him to wake up to.
Yeah, so it's 4:15 in Croatia, and yeah, it's probably going to come as a surprise. I think we all thought that it would be Noodle or Sarah Connor. So my apologies to Noodle and Sarah Connor. They grinded like absolute heroes, and we will definitely recognize that. So again, reach out to someone from the team and give us your address and hoodie size and faction, and we'll get those hoodies sent out. But after this AMA, I will publish the top 10 list.
Awesome. So in regards to the Singapore giveaway, are we going to be able to see you at any conventions before that?
So John and I will be in Korea for Korea Blockchain Week. We don't have a booth or anything like that. We're there to network and meet people and kind of expand our sphere of influence. And Kyle and Lan will be in Thailand for the Play to Earn Expo. Do we have a booth for that, Kyle?
No, so it's a bit of a different setup to most. It's definitely all about the networking and the VIP networking. So I'm very excited for that. It's going to be a great event.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one. So we're overspreading the Supremacy gospel in Asia the first half of this month, and then we'll kind of have a bit of a break from travel before Singapore Token 2049. And Kyle will actually get to come home. So Kyle's will have been away for like a month and a half by the end of
6 weeks all up.
Yeah, been
Forget
intense.
what Australia looks like.
How was Istanbul?
Istanbul was very nice. I flew over after the Paris events, and we had 3 days of exhibitioning there. I got to have my booth, this awesome Supremacy booth, had a big logo on the front with some Mechs on it, and then 2 big, huge pull-up banners behind it. And then one of the days I put the projector up on the wall behind me as well, so it was huge to look at. And it was right next to the lunch and networking areas, so lots of great foot traffic. And I got to meet a lot of people from around that Middle East, Eastern Asia, Eastern Europe area. A lot of strong connections, so excited to see that develop.
Yeah, it's really cool to see our branding out, right on the right out in countries we just like are not immediately familiar with. I think you mentioned it was unfortunate that we didn't have Turkish branding and potentially a translator, and that's something we obviously need to keep in mind for the next big expo we do somewhere where English isn't so dominant.
Yeah, at the end of the day, people still saw the great images and awesome demos and were keen on it, but yeah, having those translations do help. Or I'll have to learn Turkish and every other language.
Did you meet any Aussies, any Aussie companies in your travels? Expoverse in LA.
Yeah, I've met plenty of Aussies. I've had meetings with some Australian companies and people, so that's been really good. One thing I found was interesting when people would tell me about the Aussies that they know and insist on connecting me to them. They're like, "Oh, I know another Australian that is in blockchain and they like crypto. You have to meet them." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll just go visit them when I get home."
Yeah, that seems to work all over the world. When you go traveling somewhere, it's like, I know an Australian in,
Yeah,
XYZ.
do you know
Do you
them?
know them? It's like, no,
Yeah.
they're 1,000 kilometers away from where I live.
I love when you go somewhere and they say, so now that you're here, are you going to go check out the Aussie bar? Like, no, I'm in a foreign country to do foreign things, not hang out with a bunch of expat Australians at the pub.
Yeah. Well, actually, if Kyle's in Phuket, there's plenty of Aussie bars in Phuket he can hang out in.
When I was in
if I had gone to
Berlin,
London, we had Foster's.
Yeah, we export that shit because nobody
No.
drinks it here.
Well, Foster's is actually Crown Lager in Australia. So if you drink Crown Lager here, that's actually export Foster's. So there you go.
Yeah, we don't drink Crown Lager, do we?
To me, it's always been the corporate drink. If you're at a corporate sundowner, it's always that rubbish that comes out.
The Crown. Yeah.
When I was in Berlin like a decade ago, the hostel I stayed at turned out to be run by a bunch of Aussie expats who lived there, which was very weird.
Yeah,
it's like comforting and annoying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't spend that much time there, so it didn't get annoying, but it was definitely pretty funny and actually kind of useful because they immediately were like, "Oh yeah, we can suggest like you're like," they were like, "Oh, you're from Perth. Oh yeah, like this is the sort of stuff we reckon you'd definitely like and be interested in or whatever," and gave me some really good suggestions. So it was kind of nice in that regard.
It's nice to touch base. It's nice to touch base and have that comfort knowing that there's there's a group that backs you up. But you go somewhere like Bali, and it's just the worst of Australia traveling. And apologies in advance for any Australians that travel to Bali, on a regular basis here. But I just saw the worst of Australia in Bali ever.
That's why I don't go to Bali.
Yeah.
Well,
Horrific.
Raj, did we have any more questions to get back into for the AMA, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see Sarah Connor says, want to throw in a copy of that Supremacy comic. Yes, everyone in the top 10 list will receive a copy of the comic.
Yo, comic.
Yeah. And we've also got the hoodie and comic giveaway for our listeners today as well. So yeah, lots to be excited for. And well done to everyone that participated in the giveaway as well. Yeah, it was fantastic, and really looking forward to the ones coming up as well.
All right. Well, I think with all the excitement, and the fact that there's no good questions in the AMA chat, I think we'll call it. We'll call it here and wrap it up. So thank you to everyone for listening and tuning in to the giveaway winner being picked, and congratulations to Oko.
Yeah, Oko. Over 9,000 points.
Well, that's actually on the lower side, I believe. So beat the odds.
30.
So welcome to the team. You'll now be one of the creators of Supremacy, essentially. A concept, not quite artist, but maybe concept inspiration. So I look forward to seeing what you decide to design. It's going to be really exciting to see. I guess my message to everyone is make sure you jump into the battle arena when it comes back online and check it out. And all feedback is welcome. Yeah, let's do it. And now that the wallet requirement is dropped, I suggest to everyone that you recommend all your friends to check it out. And any feedback they have, we're always interested in. And yeah, jump in and like come with us on this journey. It's gonna be awesome. And make sure you stick around on Discord, because there'll be a lot of codes and activity for the giveaways. So we are absolutely going to use these giveaways to encourage both gameplay and Discord community engagement. I've really enjoyed the Titan giveaway, and the activity in Discord over the last couple of weeks has been really encouraging. And considering we took the battle arena down, it was nice to see. And I'm also really encouraged by the fact that our community kind of rallied around us. And even though a significant portion were pretty upset with us, they understood why we did it and they let us get on with it. And I hope those that kind of took a more negative outlook will come round, and we'll welcome you back into the community if you wish to. So,
I have one very last question.
Absolutely.
For the new players that are going to sign up using their Gmail account, can they purchase subs with their credit card?
Not at this stage. Unfortunately, there's some pretty significant regulation around it that we have to navigate. We are talking with some companies that may help us on ramp. It obviously will include KYC, and it's kind of like buying off Binance or an exchange, except they'll be able to buy subs directly. Yeah, it's definitely something we're obviously really keen to get in. It's probably more likely that we will have the ability to use fiat on the marketplace and on the storefront. So be able to buy mechs and buy mechs from other people, and then we do the subs like translation in the back end and pay out the seller with subs. That's probably going to come before there's a subs, like a fiat to subs on ramp. But yeah, we're obviously very much incentivized to reduce the friction in buying subs for new players.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, that's awesome. So Alex, should we conclude it there?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I'll quickly finish what I was saying. So again, big thanks to our community, and let's help us grow. So I and the team will make sure to keep putting interesting tweets into Twitter raids so that we can get the word out there organically. We will never employ shill bots and like bot farms. It's completely against our ethics. That does mean it's harder for us to get the Supremacy name out there, on the Twitter sphere and Reddit and other social media. So I guess I just want to put that request to the community. Help us do it. Make sure you follow our Twitter accounts. Myself, John's, the Supremacy account, Spencer's, Kyle's, Raj's. We're pretty active on Twitter, and we'll obviously continue doing giveaway stuff through Twitter. So there's immediate incentive. Let's grow. Let's double the numbers of Supremacy Battle Arena players by token 2049. Thanks everyone. Thanks Miss Teen Crypto for joining us. I'm sad you didn't get to actually contribute more, but thanks for being here. Thanks Kyle for joining us even though you're on holiday in Phuket. Morgan,
no worries.
Morgan, you made me look really good again, so thanks for that. Obi, it's always good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're back in the fold. And well,
never left.
and the suspense was palpable, sup man. So I look forward to seeing more content come out of you. And make sure, so everyone listening, make sure you subscribe to Subman. And well hosted, Raj. Another successful AMA.
Thank you very much, Alex, and thank you to everyone that joined and put their questions in. Yeah, we'll see you for the next one.
And just quickly, a massive thank you to the art, dev, and engineering team. You guys are amazing. And to those of you that have done late nights, and to the few of you that have done insane hours, I am eternally grateful and very appreciative. And yeah, I think that the whole community is in awe of your work. So cheers, everybody. Alex out.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
Peace.
See you guys.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day,
you,
night.
guys.
Catch you later.
Catch you in the arena.
See you in the arena, guys.
Sure.
Take
See you
care.
guys in the battle arena soon. Let's go today. Peace.